Hi everyone, Stepan here. I got a game. Okay, Thanos Avenge. Let's play d4. Again, I'm outside. Excuse the noises. The dogs may come out. Lucia may wake up. I don't know. The last few games have been tough. And I have to say that this series is harder to play and record and deal with than I'd expected. I'm gonna comment on some of your comments. First of all, I know that 2500 is a tough goal. That's why I chose it. If I'm not excited, then I don't want to do it. Anyway, let's get to this game. Also, you wanted more of my dogs. Okay, so two dogs here. They love to play with each other and they can get quite loud. We have a lot of outside space here, so they can run around and do stuff. But when I'm recording, I try to keep them inside, because otherwise this wouldn't work at all. We do have the birds and the waves and the occasional car passing by, and sometimes some people passing by. If you also had my dogs, that it would be unbearable. I should be home in about a week, so I'll have my room to record in, and it will be fine. Anyway, we're playing the Queen's Gambit declined exchange variation. I'm playing the main line with Queen c2, preventing Bishop f5. I don't know much about Knight c6. But okay, I'm just gonna go e3 on knight b4. I can play queen b3 and then a5, a3, I guess. I don't know the move knight c6, so I'll just make a normal move. Obviously, I want to play a3 before bishop d3, but I couldn't hang my d-pawn. Oh, there are ends on my table. I don't think knight b4 works now. I mean, I can at least go queen a4. Or no, sorry, queen b3. Also, you mentioned my calculation skills. There was a discussion in the video 2 days ago that I have poor calculation skills. I agree that they are poor compared to the other aspects of my play, but it may be hard to understand, but I cannot... I'm not trying to excuse myself. My calculation skills are the poorest part of my play, but I find it very hard to concentrate fully when I record and talk. So I hope that when I don't record, my skills are better and that I notice more stuff or miss less. Well, I'm sure that's true, but also I'm not really used to quick time controls, and for me 15 minutes is a quick time control. As you know, I'm training for classical chess. That's the only thing I care about. Unfortunately, if I wanted to get paired for classical games on Lichess, that would take, I don't know how long, but probably hours if I wanted to play a couple of games. So that's just not an option for me. I cannot spend an hour waiting for a game. So yeah, I know that I miss stuff, and I'm working on that. Bishop e6 is a very provocative move. Runs into knight e2 f4. But then again, knight f3 allows knight e5. My opponent's knight is misplaced. I don't want to go b4 before I manage to castle, so for now I'm just gonna go bishop d3 and decide what to do with the knight later. h6 weakens g6, which weakens e5. And if I have a knight on e5, then the fact that g6 is weak is more important. Knight c6 prevents c5, so I don't see counterplay for my opponent, the standard counterplay. Knight a5, I think, runs into knight e2, followed by b4, or yeah, I don't think I should trade bishops on e7, developing my opponent's queen. So I'm just gonna go bishop g3, keep an eye on c7, and prevent bishop d6, because my opponent gets doubled pawns. If my opponent plays bishop f6, I'm not too worried about that. If my opponent plays knight b6, wanting to play knight a5, knight c4, then maybe b3 is an option. And my development seems pretty normal. I can play rook c1, I can play knight f3 or knight e2. I'm not sure which is better. Oh, there's a mosquito flying around now. We're on an island, so there's a lot of wildlife and life. Okay. Wants to go knight c4. Move, mosquito. So should I go b3 before my opponent plays knight c4, or should I just ignore that? I feel like ignoring that is a good idea. So let's say knight f3, knight c4. What's that knight doing? Is it really doing that much? Couldn't I chase it away with b3 then? No, because then there's knight a3. And if I go b3 now, let's say my opponent castles, my rook is kind of tied down to a3. And also maybe my opponent wants to go bishop d6 now. So should I go b3? I think I will. Eventually I want to go b4, b5, but not before this knight has moved away from b6. So let's go b3 for now. Also, it's just dawning, so I had to turn on the light. It's gonna be light in about 10-15 minutes, I guess. If bishop d6 I don't take, I'm gonna go knight f3 or knight e2. Maybe knight e2 is better, because I may have knight f4. I don't know. I mean, this is game 18? Is this game 18? I think so. I'm up 20 rating points, which isn't much, but... h5, that's interesting. So unless I go h3, I lose a pawn. I could also go h4. But that gives away the g4 square. So h3, h4, bishop h2, bishop d6 takes, queen takes, a Caro-Kann idea. h4, bishop d6 takes, queen takes, g3. h4. h4 seems more promising. So I'm gonna go h4. I'm giving away the g4 square, but I'm counting on bishop f5. Also, I'm making g5 harder to play. Okay, understandable. I feel like knight e2 is correct. Knight e2, bishop takes, knight takes, g5 takes, h4, knight f4. Yeah, I'll just keep developing. I mean, no need to take if I can keep developing. Now I really do want to go bishop f5 because I want to get rid of my weakness on g4 and the way to do that is to get rid of this bishop. Not that my bishop is bad or anything, but I feel like eliminating light squared bishops is gonna weaken these 3 points. Also, I may consider knight f5. I'm not sure. If my opponent takes on g3. Okay, now if I take on d6, queen d7 will have been a clear loss of tempo. I cannot go bishop f5, but I could go knight f4. Knight f4. If bishop f4 I take, if bishop g4 I play f3, but then my bishop on g3 is hanging. Tough position. I actually don't know what to do. I'm not sure I want to castle kingside. Castles queenside loses a pawn and allows knight b4. Bishop f5 loses a piece. Knight f4. Is bishop d6 my only option? I guess it could be, so I'm gonna take. Now, bishop f5. Oh, what do I do? I could also go knight g3, knight f5. I kind of like that. Knight g3 castles queenside, knight f5. Queen d7, I have knight g7, and on rook g8 I have knight e6. Okay, I'm gonna play knight g3. I don't think there's any trouble on d4. Takes, takes. It's not undermining g3. So I want to increase control over f5. If bishop g4, I don't have f3 because my knight is hanging, but I do have bishop f5 or knight f5. I don't like having my knights on g3. Okay, my opponent controls f5. Now if I take bishop g6, fg6, queen g6, king e7 or d7, is that enough? I don't think so. I mean, I could get 3 pawns. I could take on... Oh, first of all, king e7 doesn't work because of queen g7 check. King d8 runs into queen f6 check. So king d7 seems forced. And then when the king is on d7, how do I make progress? I can go knight h5. Okay, bishop g6, fg6, queen g6, king d7, I guess. On bishop f7, yeah, there's bishop f7. I don't like bishop f7, the queen is defended. Yeah, I don't think I can take. I don't know what to do. I think we can safely assume that my opponent's gonna castle queenside, if they are gonna castle at all. I think my knight is useless on g3 now. So let's put it back on e2. I'm gonna play knight f4. I mean, there's no point in having a knight on g3. This is a weakness. It's definitely a weakness, and I'm trying to wait for my opponent to commit to castling one side or another. Okay, my opponent wants to play c5, I guess. So if I go b4, knight c4, oh, maybe they want to go knight f5. So let's go again. b4, knight c4, bishop takes, d takes. Knight e4 is an option. And I'm on the c pawn. I think I'm gonna do that. b4, knight c4, bishop takes, pawn takes. e4. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna do that. I need to do something. I know I'm giving away the c4 square. I'm aware. But I don't see a way to make progress unless I activate this rook. And I don't see a way to activate the rook unless I defend a3. And I couldn't see a way to defend a3. Maybe I could have played a4 now that the knight wasn't on c6, but because there was no knight b4, but the knight could have come back to c6. Okay. My opponent wants to play knight c4 after trading the bishops. That's probably a good idea. So the question is, can I play e4? e4, d4, knight d4. Where does the queen go? Knight e4. e4, d4, knight e4, queen somewhere. Or bishop takes, bishop takes. I'm giving away the d5 square. e4, d4, knight e4, bishop e4, bishop e4. I kind of like that. I'm gonna play e4. I'll have an isolated queen's pawn, but c5 cannot easily be played, d4 can be defended for the moment, because I can play bishop f5, I can play rook d1. Knight c4 isn't a strong move anymore because there's no outpost. My opponent would have to play b5 to prepare knight c4, but while the knight's on b6, you cannot really go b5. And if I get rid of the d-pawn, then... Okay, knight takes. Oh, takes with the bishop, okay. So there's knight d5. There is knight d5. I'm sorry, this guy is going to his field every morning at 7 AM and it's really loud. He's doing that now. So excuse the noise. He will pass in about 40 seconds. So I'm looking at queen c5, and maybe queen c7 or queen d8 are forced. Neither of those seem too good, because I will have rook d1. And if a queen trade happens, I think I'll have a slightly better endgame. So yeah, I'm gonna go queen c5. Queen c5, if queen f4, I can take it, so... And I think I take with the b-pawn to target b7. Queen c5, bc5, knight d5, rook b1. Rook b8? I can take on c6 if this knight moves. I kind of like this. I mean, I'm gonna take bc5. I know that there's a huge blockading hole on d5, but if I can push the pawn forward or play bc, then there's a weakness on b7, so that should compensate. Again, I can also choose to play dc5 and play like a coward, but I don't want to do that. If I play dc5, it should probably be equal. And if I can take twice, provoke cd, then I could have a better endgame, but it's not at all clear how much better it is. I mean, you have to play queen c7 or queen d8. I don't see another move. Queen c7 could be risky because of d5 eventually, because the queen isn't defended. For example, on queen c7, rook c1, knight d5. Well, I still don't have enough attackers, but if one of the knights moves, I could have. Okay. BC, knight d5. Rook b1. Rook b8 is the only defense I can see. And then castles. Okay, I'm gonna play BC. I think the imbalance is interesting. So rook b1, everything's defended. And the problem my opponent has is, if this knight moves, I can eventually take on c6, and if this knight moves, I take on d5 and have a much better structure. Now I want to castle, play rook fc1 and knight c3 to try and lift the blockade. Oh, castle's queenside, that's nice. Nice, nice. Okay, I'm gonna castle kingside. I need to use this hole. Why would you play king c7? I don't get that. I have two loose pieces. I'm not a big fan of that. And I don't want to go bishop f3 because that allows knight f5. I don't want to move my a pawn because that allows knight b4. I don't want to go rook c1 and knight c3 because of takes, takes, takes on d4. Okay, for now, let's just go rook d1. Free up my knight. Okay, now I was thinking bishop d3 to make sure I'm still covering f5 and the knight. I'm gonna have to speed up. I'm down to 3.5 minutes. Yeah, I had underestimated this move. I was thinking I can take, but my opponent takes on e2. And if I don't do anything, then rook e2, bishop e2, knight c3. Okay, I mean, I have to take. I don't think I can go g3. g3, rook e2, bishop e2, knight c3, bishop f1, rook b1, rook b1, rook d4. I have to take. Oof. Oh, that's great. Okay. So now if I go rook b2, rook e2, rook e2, knight c3, rook d2, rook d1, rook d1. That could be a better endgame for me. I can also go rook d2, I guess, is the same thing. I cannot move my knight before I've defended c3, or before I've moved one of my rooks. Now I can move my knight. And I'll go knight g3 if nothing happens. Oh, I would love to get my knight into d6, okay. No, I don't want to play f3, because that would run into knight e3. So I need to control the c3 square. So rook c1, f3, takes, and then knight c3. Yeah, I'm playing rook c1. I need to control c3. I also wouldn't mind having my knight on c4. So how do I get my knight to c4? So knight c3, knight takes, or knight f6. Yeah, I'm playing knight c3. I want to get rid of this annoying knight. My pawn structure is, well, not much better, but better. Because this pawn is gonna be weak. And maybe this one. This pawn is actually very strong, preventing my king from coming in. But I will have rook f3. I'm planning to play knight a4, b6, c4. If my opponent moves too far away. This is becoming a very complex endgame. Yeah, it's light outside now. On f3 I think I go g3. This I don't understand. So if I go g3, f takes, f takes, do I have any way to make progress? I don't think so. If I go king h3, is my opponent planning to go rook f5? Okay, I'm going g3. And I'll take with the pawn. If f3 I can take and take on f7. I'm under a minute. Come on. Come on. If king e7 or king e6, I have rook e3 or rook e2. I played this so that on king f4, a rook somewhere, like here, I would have rook e3. And also I'm defending the g-pawn and I'm preparing rook b3. I mean, this is probably equal, but my opponent has more weaknesses. I have one, technically. I would say that d4 is the only weakness. g3 and a3 definitely isn't a weakness. g3 maybe. As long as f4 doesn't work, I think I'm better. Okay, so my opponent wants to go rook e7 and rook e4. So if king f4, rook e7, rook e3, king e3, f4 doesn't work, king e6, king f4 should be a drawn endgame. I'm not sure. I'm gonna go king f4. So rook e7, rook e3, king e3, king e6, king f4. King f6. Yeah, it's a draw. It's a draw. Rook e3, rook e3, king e3, king e6, king f4, king d5 should be winning for me, but my opponent's gonna go king f6. Yeah, I have to go for this. I don't see anything else. I'm gonna try to triangulate my opponent into losing. Also, if they wish to repeat, they can just go rook d7 and I'm forced to play king e3. Okay. I think this is forced. Because otherwise I lose one of the pawns on rook g4. F4 takes, rook h4, king e4 seems good to me for white. Rook e3, king d5, rook e5, king d4, rook f5 seems good. Rook b3, rook d4, rook b7 doesn't seem good. So I'm gonna repeat. I think I had to go d5. I couldn't see another move. I think this should be a draw. Rook c3, king f4, rook a3, king b6. Sorry, rook b6, king somewhere. Yeah, I think this should be a draw. Okay, he didn't go for the trade, that's understandable. But I think now it's dead even. May even be no point in playing this out. King f4, are there any good discovered checks? I don't think so. Don't I just win the pawn? Maybe I'm better now. Now I'm playing for a win. Because my opponent has to go rook a5, I think. His king cannot approach the pawns anymore. So when I play king f5, king g5, I think I just win a pawn. King g5, f4, king takes f4. I'm just gonna be up a pawn. His king doesn't have a single square. The rook, this is Zugzwang? This is the wildest Zugzwang I've ever had. My opponent is losing the f-pawn by force. Okay, so here. And how does my opponent save the pawn? If f4, I go king f4. Yeah, now it's definitely over. With precise play. I may mess it up, but... Maybe he should have gone to the back rank. Because now after king g5, my passed pawn is just too strong. And going to the back rank now doesn't work, because after rook takes f5, there's king g4. Yeah, now I'm just queening. Yep. Okay. How did I win this game? I should have been down a pawn. Oof. Yeah, my opponent played very well and then didn't play well in the endgame. It's hopeless. His king is cut off and I have two connected passed pawns. Nothing works anymore. I think I can even do this and try to win the pawn. Forcing the rook back to a6. Yeah, it's over. The king is cut off, my rook is safe on f5, I can just go g4 and there are no checks, no tricks. Yeah, okay. So I don't know where I had gone wrong. I was confused with my opponent's setup. I didn't really understand what I was supposed to do, and I played very poorly in the middle game. I didn't have a clear plan, and I just kept blundering. And eventually, I think my opponent was significantly better. I don't know why they are not resigning now. It's kind of confusing, but okay. Let's like me and you think practicing against the engine is boring because it either crushes you or plays like an idiot, try playing against Noctie. Noctie is a human-like AI that's going to adapt to your strength, is going to play like a human, try to trick you like a human, and challenge you on your own level. The first thing you can do is, of course, assess your rating, and you can play a rating test against Noctie. Yeah, the only move is g4 and then queen f4 mate? Yeah. Good. Yes! 2557! Come on! It's going to tell you your strength, but there are many more features. The first thing is, when you play Noctie, you get instant feedback, and all of your moves will get sort of color-coded. Noctie will immediately tell you if you made a mistake. That way you can ask Noctie to see where you went wrong. You can play games in openings you're trying to learn. So you can import any repertoire you want and play Noctie in that specific opening. Just go to repertoires. I've imported the Hillbilly when I was doing the video on the Hillbilly, but you can obviously create any repertoire. Just paste the PGN, and if you, for example, play the London system, you can play the London system against Noctie. Flashcards are an excellent tool, and I've spoken to Samuel, the owner and inventor of Noctie. He's going to make them even better. Flashcards are basically the mistakes you made in your games. Noctie is going to make you pay attention to them, and in the future they're going to be grouped according to theme, so it's going to be even easier to navigate your mistakes. One of my favorite features, if not my favorite one, and the one I use the most, is themes. So you can play Noctie in any specific position you choose. So if you go to your themes, you can see that I've made quite a few. So let's say you want to play out this position. This is a position from Spassky's game where he triangulated perfectly. If you're trying to practice something, you can create a new theme. Just add an FEN or a PGN and play it out against Noctie. That way, if you have an endgame you would like to practice, you don't have to find an actual human to play against, nor will you have to play against a 2800 engine or against a 500 engine human. If you would like to check Noctie out, you can follow the link in the description, and if you would like to get a 64% discount, use the code HANGING Pawns. Thank you very much for this. Thank you, Noctie, for sponsoring the video, and let's get back. Let's analyze. Thank you, Meakash. Meakash says, big fan, I love your 2500 series. I love it too. This is the first time I'm actually excited about training. So let's see. Knight c6. I have never faced this. So let's do this with the engine. So a6, no games. On move 7, in the Queen's Gambit declined. Okay, a3, bishop h4, bishop d3 is fine, bishop g3 is best. b3 was unnecessary, but it's not bad. I should have gone knight e2 immediately. Yeah, this was my debate, h3 or h4. h4 is better, good. Bishop here. Okay, I played knight g2, which is fine. Queen d7. b4 immediately. Should have gone b4 immediately. But taking is fine. Knight g3 is a mistake. I should have gone b4. Knight back. Okay, obviously knight g3 was a mistake. Yeah, and now I should have gone back to g3. Come on. b4 now. Okay. e4 is bad. e4 is bad. I should have gone knight f4. What's the point of knight f4? It's not too bad, but queen c5, good. Now let's see if taking with the b pawn was correct. No. Okay, it was. Okay. Yes. Ooh, rook h3, that's such a nice move. Rook h3. Okay, I was never worse. That's good. Shouldn't he have taken on e2? I was afraid of this. But apparently, excuse me, it's fine. Equal, 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 equal. Wow, this game was equal from start to finish? I mean, until he blundered? Yeah, my opponent could have just repeated rook d7, rook e7, and I don't think there's anything I could have done. And another thing, why didn't my opponent play rook c3 here and take? I don't get that. I think this is an easy draw. He could have gone for this. Yeah. Once my king comes in... Wait, rook b3 is a blunder? Why? Ah, because it allows king d5 and king c4 check taking my rook. Yeah, okay, now it seems to be over. Yeah. Okay, I mean, this was a fun game. I'm surprised to see that I wasn't worse. I mean, it was minus 0.3, but that's not a big deal. Thank you for watching. Finally a win. Hopefully we continue the streak. It's not a streak, it's one game, but hopefully we continue with another win. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more chess. Bye bye.